War, in its most brutal and raw form, has always been an undeniable part of human history. From the trenches of World War I to the bombed cities of World War II, it's a recurring theme, a shadow that stretches across the centuries. From the earliest days of civilization, people have engaged in conflict, often fighting over land, driven by the primal need to secure territory. The Napoleonic Wars, for example, redrew the map of Europe and changed the fate of nations. Power, the intoxicating allure of control and dominance, has been a constant motivator. Leaders like Adolf Hitler and Napoleon Bonaparte sought to expand their empires, forever altering history. Resources, the lifeblood of societies, have sparked countless battles from ancient trade routes to modern-day oil fields. The Gulf War, for instance, was fought largely over control of oil. And beliefs, the deeply held convictions that shape our worldviews, have ignited some of the most devastating wars in history. The Crusades and the Vietnam War both show how ideology can fuel conflict. Wars can sometimes start with a single spark, a seemingly insignificant event that escalates rapidly. The assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand in 1914 triggered World War I, or they can grow slowly and insidiously over many years, fueled by simmering tensions and unresolved grievances. The Cold War, for example, lasted decades and shaped global politics. Wars irrevocably changed nations, redrawing borders and reshaping political landscapes. After World War II, Germany was divided and new countries emerged across Europe and Asia. They shaped leaders, testing their resolve and defining their legacies. Winston Churchill's leadership during World War II is still remembered today, and they touch every family in their path, leaving an indelible mark on generations to come. Families separated during the Korean War still feel its effects. No one is truly untouched by war. Its tendrils reach far and wide, impacting lives in ways both seen and unseen. Refugees fleeing conflict in Syria echo the displaced of wars past. Even those far from the battlefield feel its effects, experiencing the ripple effects of conflict on their daily lives. Rationing and shortages during World War II changed civilian life worldwide. Children lose parents, their innocence shattered by the harsh realities of war. Images of orphans after the Vietnam War remind us of this painful truth. Cities are destroyed, reduced to rubble and ruin, monuments to human folly. Dresden and Hiroshima stand as stark examples. And economies are shaken, leaving societies struggling to rebuild and recover. Post-war Japan and Germany, rebuilt from devastation. The world we live in today, with all its complexities and contradictions, is profoundly shaped by wars both old and new, echoes of the past resonating in the present. The Korean Peninsula remains divided, a living legacy of conflict. Understanding war is not just about memorizing dates and battles, analyzing strategies and tactics. The D-Day invasion of Normandy is studied for its complexity and impact. It is about understanding people's hopes, the yearning for peace and security. After World War I, the League of Nations was formed in hopes of preventing future wars. Their fears, the anxieties and uncertainties that grip them in times of conflict. The Cuban Missile Crisis brought the world to the brink of nuclear war, and their dreams, the visions of a better future that sustained them through the darkest of times. The fall of the Berlin Wall symbolized hope for a new era. It is about the choices made by leaders, the decisions that determine the fate of nations. President Truman's decision to use the atomic bomb changed the course of history, and the courage shown by ordinary men and women, the unsung heroes who rise to the occasion in extraordinary circumstances. The stories of resistance fighters in occupied France inspire us still. By looking closely at the story of war, examining its multifaceted nature, we can begin to understand its underlying causes, the complex web of factors that lead to conflict. The tangled alliances before World War I are a classic example, and its devastating costs, the human toll and the lasting scars it leaves behind. The Vietnam War's legacy of trauma and loss endures to this day. Only then can we hope to learn from the past and build a more peaceful and just future for all. Long before written history, people fought over water, food, and land. Tribes clashed to protect their homes or to expand their territory. Some of the earliest wars were small, but their lessons were lasting. Even then, the pain and loss were real. As cities and civilizations grew, so did the scale of conflict. In Mesopotamia, ancient kings sent armies to conquer neighbors. The Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans all built empires through war. Their victories and defeats shaped the borders of the ancient world. These early wars taught us about power and ambition. Leaders learned to use not just weapons but words and alliances. At the same time, people began to record their stories, on stone, on clay, and in song. The roots of war run deep in human history. Understanding these early conflicts helps us see how old patterns still shape our world today. Over the centuries, as civilizations rose and fell, many wars, both large and small, have dramatically changed the course of history, leaving an indelible mark on societies and shaping the world we know today. These conflicts have influenced borders, cultures, and the very fabric of human existence. The Crusades, a series of religious wars, fought fiercely between Christians and Muslims for control of holy lands, lasted for hundreds of years, leaving a legacy of cultural exchange and lasting animosity. The Mongol invasions, led by Genghis Khan and his successors, swept across Asia and Europe with unparalleled speed and brutality, leaving cities in ruins and empires shattered in their wake. In the 1700s and 1800s, a period of revolution and enlightenment, wars like the American Revolution, a fight for independence and self-governance, and the Napoleonic Wars, a series of major conflicts pitting the French Empire against a fluctuating array of European powers, redrew maps, reshaped political landscapes, and inspired new ideas about freedom and national identity. The American Civil War, a brutal internal conflict, tore a nation apart, testing the very foundations of its union, but also ultimately ended slavery in the United States, paving the way for a more just society. Each conflict, regardless of its scale or outcome, left its indelible mark on the world, shaping the course of human events. The 20th century, a period of unprecedented technological advancement, saw two devastating world wars. Millions of soldiers and civilians died in these global conflicts, leaving scars that persist to this day. New weapons like tanks and airplanes, products of rapid industrialization, fundamentally changed how wars were fought, ushering in an era of mechanized warfare. After World War II, with the world grappling with the horrors of the Holocaust and the dawn of the atomic age, the Cold War began, a new kind of conflict, a long, tense standoff, characterized by ideological division and the constant threat of nuclear annihilation between the United States and the Soviet Union, two superpowers vying for global dominance. In recent times, even after the fall of the Berlin Wall, wars in Korea, Vietnam, proxy wars fueled by Cold War tensions, the Middle East and Africa, regions plagued by instability and conflict, have continued to shape our planet, highlighting the enduring nature of conflict in human affairs. Each chapter in this timeline, a testament to human resilience and the enduring quest for peace, reminds us that war, with all its devastation and human cost, is never far from the human story, urging us to strive for a future where diplomacy and understanding prevail. World War I, a conflict that engulfed the globe, started in 1914. It was a war unlike any the world had seen before, a true test of human endurance and technological advancement in warfare. The spark that ignited this global firestorm was the assassination of an Austrian prince, Archduke Franz Ferdinand. This single act of violence set in motion a chain of events that would forever alter the course of history. Old alliances, forged in times of peace, now pulled many nations into the escalating conflict. Countries were bound by treaties and agreements, and as one nation fell into war, others were obligated to follow. Trench warfare, and new machines of war, like tanks, machine guns and poison gas, made the war incredibly deadly and tragically long. These technologies transformed the battlefield into a landscape of unimaginable horror. By 1918, after years of relentless fighting, millions were dead, leaving behind a generation scarred by loss and trauma. And old empires, weakened by the war's immense strain, had fallen, redrawing the map of Europe and the world. World War II erupted just 2 decades later, in 1939, a testament to the unresolved issues and simmering tensions left over from the previous conflict. This new global conflict was sparked by the rise of Adolf Hitler and the Nazi regime in Germany, and their aggressive invasion of Poland. This war was even larger in scale and far more destructive than its predecessor, engulfing nations across the globe in a brutal struggle for survival. The Holocaust, a systematic genocide targeting millions of innocent people, the atomic bomb, a weapon of unimaginable power, and the fall of powerful nations reshaped the global order forever, leaving an indelible mark on the 20th century. By 1945, after 6 years of relentless fighting, much of Europe and Asia lay in ruins, their cities reduced to rubble and their populations decimated. The causes of these wars were many and complex, a tangled web of political, economic, and social factors. Competition for land and resources, old grudges and historical animosities, and widespread economic troubles all contributed to the escalating tensions that ultimately led to war. But both wars showed, with terrifying clarity, how quickly violence can escalate and spread across the globe, engulfing entire continents in conflict. They also proved, beyond any doubt, that no country, no matter how powerful, could truly stand alone in the face of such global challenges. After the wars, the world faced the daunting task of rebuilding shattered nations and healing deep wounds. New organizations like the United Nations were created with the hope of fostering international cooperation and keeping the peace for future generations. Yet, despite these efforts, the scars of these devastating wars remain with us even today, serving as a constant reminder of the fragility of peace and the enduring consequences of conflict. War does not only destroy, it also changes. After wars, borders are often redrawn. New countries are born and old ones disappear. People are forced to move, leaving behind homes and memories. Societies change in other ways too. After World War II, women who worked in factories helped lead movements for equal rights. The civil rights movement in America gained strength after black soldiers fought bravely overseas. War pushes people to invent. Radar, jet engines, and even the internet began as military projects. Medicine also advanced, with new ways to treat injuries and diseases. These inventions now help us in peacetime. But every gain comes at a price. The trauma of war lingers for generations, shaping culture, art, and the way we see the world. The effects of war never truly end. Families are changed forever. Some people lose loved ones, while others struggle with memories of battle. Communities work for years to rebuild what was lost. Countries spend huge amounts of money on armies and weapons. This can mean less for schools, hospitals, or roads. Sometimes old enemies remain divided for decades, even after the fighting stops. War can also bring people together. After great losses, nations often try harder to avoid future conflicts. Treaties, peace talks, and diplomacy become more important. Sometimes former enemies become allies. The echoes of past wars shape our politics, our borders, and our daily lives. We live in a world built from both the ruins and the hopes left behind by war. Studying war helps us understand our world. It teaches us about courage, sacrifice, and the cost of violence. When we know why wars started and what they destroyed, we can make better choices in the future. Peace does not come easily. It takes hard work, understanding, and respect for differences. By learning about the horrors of war, we are reminded why peace is so precious. Every generation faces the choice between conflict and cooperation. The lessons of history are clear. War brings pain, while peace brings hope. If we remember the stories of war, we can build a future where understanding and kindness are stronger than hate. That is why learning about wars is not just about the past, it is about the world we want to create.